Today's video, we're going to talk about Google Ad Strength poor rating, what this poor rating actually means for your ad performance. And does it actually affect your results? Yes, it does. Specifically, how much and how specifically is going to be covered in this detailed video, so you know which side of the aisle you should end up on, where you do everything Google wants you to do so you don't have this poor rating anymore. Namely, have enough headlines with enough headline variety so the warning goes from poor to good or excellent. Ignore it all, like I typically mostly do. Keep with the poor rating. I get pressured all the time at our agency. Corey, why is our ad strength rating not good? I got to explain. At the end of the day, a good ad is a good ad. An ad you want to be doing more than anything else in your business. When you're trying to make Google Ads work for your business, is to get an ad that's going to get a high click-through, not an ad which has a great ad strength score. Okay? Now, if you can get a high ad strength score by having an ad that gets a great click-through rate, that's great, but normally one doesn't beget the other. So for that matter, ad strength score is irrelevant because at the end of the day, what Google wants, despite what they're saying with this ad strength score, is they want an ad with a high click-through rate because ads that have a high click-through rate, they're ultimately, directly and indirectly going to make more money long-term from that, not the ad strength score. The ad strength score is there to help clueless novice advertisers who know nothing about advertising to help them along a little bit so that their ad actually does halfway good. And there's a half of a chance that their ad helps Google's users enough that Google will actually want to promote it, okay? So I'll explain more about why that is, how that is in this video. And if you stay to the end of the video, I will give you a case study on how much this ad strength score affects your results short and then long term, because it's different for both of those. So you can see whether you want to be going with one or the other for your business. With that said, and before I get into the content here, if you don't know who I am, I'm Corey Zyman, owner of Guaranteed PPC, an online advertising agency that specializes in guaranteeing results for their clients on their ad campaign. We do not charge management fees unless we can give you a certain minimum result on your campaign upfront, which basically what that means is we're going to give you enough profit gain on your campaigns upfront to offset the management. And we're the only agency on the planet who offers anything like that, which should tell you something about the quality of the information I'm about to share. I've got the pros and the cons on having a poor rating versus a rating that a good rating, if you will. You did everything Google wants you to do versus you ignored it all, and what you're ultimately going to stand to gain. On the pro side, not be bound to having test headlines that you don't want to test, because naturally the main thing Google wants you to do is have lots of headlines. What I tell people all the time at our firm is you don't need to have 10 headlines when you know how to write an ad, okay? A headline doesn't have to be also unique if you know how to write an ad. Google, as I mentioned at the start of this video, what they're ultimately doing is they know they have a higher chance of an ad actually performing as good or better than the leading ads in the auctions and search results that you want to show up for if they ask you for more headlines and or just nudge you in the general direction of that. That's what this is doing, this ad strength score. It's a nudge. It's nudging you in the direction of where they want you to go and that the algorithm wants. Ultimately, we're all bowing down to the algorithm here. Google Ads is no different. If you haven't seen my other videos before, I talk about on Google Ads, what you're doing more than anything is trying to get a higher click-through rate and a higher conversion rate than your competition. If you do, Google's going to want to promote you more and give you more benefit as an advertiser, lower cost per click, better quality users that you're going to ultimately get, more impression share, and the like. With that said, the algorithm and through Google's own testing knows that if you throw more headlines in there that they can test, chances are one of those headlines is going to end up being good enough to beat the other ads so that the search results that they have is going to overall improve over time because they now have your ad to show versus somebody else's ad that's now not as good as yours than if they simply asked you for 2 headlines, which is why they ask you for 10 headlines, and so they can go through a bunch of those random headlines knowing that the average advertiser doesn't know how to write an ad headline or ad at all. All they know is they know what an ad is. They just don't know how to write ads. They don't have a strategy in mind. None of that. You're basically, this is the equivalent of throwing some Jell-O against the wall and then just seeing what sticks. Google knows if you give them enough Jell-O, there's one little piece of it that'll stick on the wall, and they'll have a better search result for the keyword that you're targeting or keywords that you're targeting because they found the 1 in 10 headlines that actually did better than, which will help the ad do better than what your competition has in the search results now for the keywords that you're targeting. Google's always on the hunt for an advertiser, defy the results of the current advertisers. They let anybody in, anybody's got a shot at the millions that come from running a profitable Google Ads campaign at a high budget. That you start from a low budget and then you scale up to a high budget. Whether or not you get it or not depends on if you can get an ad with a better click-through rate and a landing page with a better conversion rate or a website with a better conversion rate than what's already there. They'll slowly test you out. If you don't get it, they'll actually basically treat you like a second-class citizen. You won't make any money. If you do, you take the place of the person making most of the money. And so you either have to be in the top 10-20% of advertisers for your keywords or you're not making any money. That's pretty much how it works nowadays. What I'm telling you here is instead of just relying on Google's ad strength score to tell you if you have a good ad, actually learn how to write a good ad. And all that content is on this channel for free, including how to make a good landing page, how to set up tracking. All this stuff we legitimately are using to guarantee results for clients at our firm is all here for you for free on this channel. And it's coming from somebody who spends 40 hours a week doing ad strategy at our firm as my sole job to get the guaranteed results for our clients. And been doing it for over a decade. So as far as getting it from the horse's mouth, as they say, or listening it or hearing it from the horse's mouth, there is no better source of information that you're going to find on YouTube as well as on the web, because 99.9% of the information out there about how to make money with ads is given to you by people who don't run any ads, or they run a couple ads. They don't run 50 accounts at once all the time and have been doing it for over a decade to know it actually as a whole works and testing tens of millions of dollars of ad spend, okay? Which is what I've done. If you pay attention to anything, you pay attention to the information at least here first. So you should subscribe if you haven't already. Furthermore, you should check out my blog. The blog has excellent information on it as well. You can find my blog actually at guaranteedppc.com/blog. The blog has actual step-by-step information to execute the strategies we're using to guarantee results for clients at our firm, with screenshots, with everything you need to use them. I highly encourage you to check out that information as well. It's just as good as what's on this channel. If you have any questions about your particular situation, by the way, you can always leave me a comment in the comment section below. I get back to literally every single person who leaves me a question or comment on this channel, usually within 24 hours time. Now on the con side, getting back to what I was saying here with the content. Now, if you actually don't worry about having a poor score, you just ignore the warning, what you're going to actually have as far as a penalty, because there is definitely a penalty here, is less impressions on your ad initially. I didn't realize this was the case until we started seeing this in the result. What you're actually going to have when you have a poor ad strength rating and you pin your headlines too much, or you don't have enough headlines, or you don't have enough variety in your headlines, okay, which are your main factors there. Then you're going to actually have the ad algorithms trained, and unless they have a bunch of ads to test, the likelihood that the ad that you give it is going to beat the competition's ads is very, very low. So they're actually only going to give you a tiny amount of impressions up front. That is, slowly test your ad out in the ad auction that you want to show up in the search results that you want to ultimately show up in, okay? So if your keyword is red shoes, which gets searched 5,000 searches a month, they may only let you have your ad show up for 50 of those. Just check you out, because again, it's all about statistical odds here. What's the likelihood that your ad with no headlines, or only, to say that you have 2 headlines, 3 headlines, and nothing else besides that, and not much variety, therefore also not having many headlines with a lot of variety of headlines in there, the chances aren't good that it's going to beat the competition, so it's not going to take as big a risk testing your ad out. It wants to find out with the least amount of pissing their users off that your ads suck before shutting you down, and that's why they do it. They ask for ads, a lot of headlines, because they figure if you give them enough, one of them you'll get lucky and it'll hit. But they also want headlines from you that have high variety in them, because it's more likely to get a hit that way versus 10 headlines with almost the same writing on it. So it makes sense. So now you understand what they're doing and why they're doing it. Now, if you know how to write an ad, okay, you don't need Google to throw 10 things at the wall and see what sticks. You actually can write a good ad that you know will beat the competition conservatively, and you don't care about the ad strength score. Then what you can ultimately do is you can initially get less impressions for the first 2 to 4 weeks on your campaign, then Google will start to promote you more. So it'll start out slower, but you won't have the drawback of having an ad that has to be tested more to ultimately find out the headlines that are going to work. So in other words, if you want the ad strength score to be good, so you get pushed harder initially in terms of impressions on your ad, you'll get more impressions right away, but the drawback being is they're going to have to test these other headlines that you're less sure about, which will get you less click-through rate. And ultimately, the end result of having the super high amount of impressions, it'll take more time because it'll have to weed through more headlines that don't work, which is why I recommend you take the hit up front, get less impressions up front for the first 2 weeks to 4 weeks, then realizing the ad actually is good and then pushing you to the top sooner to get all the available impressions you could get. Of which, by the way, there is a hack to get a high ad strength score, which is to have more headlines, but then pin your headlines so that Google ain't going to be able to test the other headlines anyway. It's a one little hack to get around the limiting of that ad up front with a poor score, just to let you know up front. That said, the other con is you need to have unnecessary pinning on headlines and description. So Google doesn't like you to pin your headlines, in other words. I didn't phrase this correctly. They don't like you to pin your headlines. So to get a good ad strength score, they don't want you to pin your headlines. With that said, you could have a lot of pinning and a lot of headlines to get a little bit better ad strength score than if you had 3 headlines itself and no pinning, just to let you know. That said, if you don't pin your headlines, you have a bunch of at all, and you have a bunch of headlines in there, your ad strength score may be great. It's going to take Google a hell of a long time to find an ad combination that can actually beat your competition. Therefore, it'll take way longer, as I mentioned a minute ago, to get to full impression share on your ad. And when I say impression share, I mean actual impression share. Initially, if there's 5,000 searches a month on a keyword and you're bidding on it, what you ultimately will get is something like 100 searches a month until Google realizes your ad can outcompete the other ads and landing pages, that is, and then it'll slowly show you 200. It'll keep going up, even though Google's impression share will say like 90% in the meantime. The impression share is just the amount of times you're shown from the amount of times that the algorithm's going to allow you to be shown. The initial time of running the ads, instead of showing 5,000 times a month, you're eligible to show for 300. Of those 300, because Google doesn't know where you're at currently in terms of ad performance compared to the competition, if you're shown 298, campaign will show 98%. Just so that you understand how this works. And you should watch my previous video I just made about why impression share doesn't mean impression share anymore if you want some more information about this. But that pretty much tells you about the ad strength rating, and a poor rating, what kind of an impact that's going to have on your results, which in summary, it's a little bit initially, and not in terms of profit, but just reduced impressions out the gate. Then the most profitability from your campaign sooner, because you've got a good ad that's going to be able to be run, if you know how to run an ad, that is. Otherwise, if you don't know how to write an ad, technically, it could actually hurt you not having a good rating because you're not going to give it enough headlines to test. My suggestion would be to work with an ad testing expert who's tested thousands of ads to find out what actual types of ads work well for most markets out there. Granted, each niche market, things are going to be different, but there's universal principles basically work for all markets that will typically get you in the top decile of click-through rate in your market just by getting that ad template or system applied to your market and to your account. Of which, by the way, I've got videos about how to write an excellent ad on Google Ads that will get you sky-high click-through rates every time. You should check that out. If you're really serious about this, it would benefit you greatly just to reach out to me at our firm at guaranteedppc.com, and I can talk to you about what's going to be the best ad to run that's going to beat your competition right away, and then you don't have to do any testing. Really, we always want to constantly push for more click-through rates, but you'll probably have the best ad in your market right away because I've written so many ads. And we can guarantee a certain result for you in terms of increase in profitability from what you're doing, or a certain level of minimum profitability along with it. We don't work with just all clients out there, but we can at least see if we can get you results, and if we can, we'll tell you what we can guarantee and so forth. So reach out to me. I'm not afraid to have a conversation with you. Beyond that, we also been selling ad templates. Other firms haven't done this. I don't know why, but we worked in over 100 plus niche markets. With that, if we've gotten the results you're looking for in your niche market in terms of ad click-through rate, conversion rate, and so forth, you can use all of our templates that work for your niche market, that works for a client in a different city or different country that you're in. It can be a very easy shortcut way to get to where you're making millions of dollars with your ads, and doing it much, much sooner and with less time of testing everything and learning what you need to do to get something that works like that. And we could tell you the actual results you're going to get with the templates that we're using up front before you buy the template from us on top of it. So there's no reason why you should at least not reach out to us and find out what results we've got in your market. And then with that, you would know you stand to gain. We've got people literally using these templates to start other businesses because it's so easy to use the template to start a new business. That is, you want to get into subcontracting service work, home services, use our template to generate leads, sub out the work. Or sell the leads to people in that space, which is a great passive business idea. You can also sell product. If you don't know anything about selling product and doing e-commerce, take an e-commerce template that we have to sell a commodity item, use it to springboard the business, if you will, because the ad campaigns have already been refined over years to sell that commodity item like printer toner, like book printing, brochure printing. You can use the template we use to generate results in that space already, and you basically have a turnkey business as a result of it. So anyway, if you're interested in any of those other template opportunities, you can also reach out to me at guaranteeppc.com about it. With that said, getting back to what I was saying here, now, if you want to know how much of an increase in results you're going to get going the way that I mentioned, where you're going to have a good ad that has good copywriting principles built within it up front, and pinning the headlines / not having a bunch of other headlines, in effect, get a poor rating, okay? As I mentioned, if you have a poor rating, it's going to hamper your campaign's impressions, the ad impressions you get for the first 2 to 4 weeks. From there, though, you're going to go higher sooner than what you would have with all those other headlines. We actually had a towing company specifically where, sometimes clients don't agree with us at our firm, and we, say, hey, ad strength score, don't worry about it because yes, you're going to take a hit initially, but you're going to get the overall result you're looking for sooner. We literally had an ad where the client had put together an ad with a high ad strength score because he just wanted to see it for himself. People do not understand why Google would screw them over. Yeah, Google, your whole life has been good to you because you've used Google search engine and they want you to be happy. But as an advertiser, they don't give a shit you're happy if you don't have something that other advertisers hasn't brought to the table already. And for the same keywords, we ran side by side another ad where I've wrote the ad personally and we didn't have all those other headlines. His ad got significantly more impressions for the first 30 days than my ad did when they were running side by side targeting the same exact keywords. How much more? Roughly double the impressions that my ad had. Then when we got into the second month, the impressions were about equal already at that point in time. Why? Because my ad click-through rate was considerably better than his because I just have written thousands of ads before and I just knew how to do this. And this was with no experience in the towing space already at this time. Third month, our ad was getting more impressions already. So basically within 90 days, we were getting more impressions with the poor ad strength score than the ad with the high excellent ad strength score, so you can understand how things were working. And then my ad just kept getting more and more results to the point where the impressions my ad was getting versus his ad was 10 to 1 once we were 9 months into the process already. Because with that, Google is going to start pushing the impressions to the ad that gets a better click-through rate. Because at the end of the day, they're looking for click-through rate, not ad strength score ratings. It's just a nudge tool to get people that don't know how to write ads, like I said before, to give them a few headlines to work with so that it can eventually, through trial and error, find one that will work or whatever, or work okay. So anyway, that gives you a general idea of how much this will impact your results. And you ultimately, with the higher click-through rate, are going to get much more profit from those keywords as well, because Google is then going to, with the higher click-through rate, you're obviously going to get more clicks on that keyword if it's profitable. So you're going to get the most clicks possible because more people are clicking through your ad. You're going to get much lower cost per click. You're going to get more available impressions because Google puts a cap on the impressions you can get until they know your ads are doing better than your competition. Even though it says you have a 90+% impression share, you don't really. You're going to get a higher quality users that Google knows is likely to turn into a customer at a higher rate, or it's more likely they turn into a customer for you or somebody in your market. They'll put your ad in front of that person and somebody who's not good, assuming there's more than 4 competitors in a market and Google can decide if your ad actually shows or not for a particular person. They'll have your ad show for somebody that's a home run prospect versus somebody who's not. They'll show the guy who they don't care if they stick around or not's ad. And all these different reasons, you're going to actually, if you have an ad that gets triple the click-through rate, you're going to make 10 times as much profit when you add in all the other side benefits you're getting. With that said, if you're not sure about your situation, I just wanted to also mention that I've been also doing coaching with the agencies that watch this channel, also with regular businesses. And if you're stuck and you're plateaued on your results, you can, in a 30-minute session, I can already pretty much identify the bottleneck in your business, whether it's the pricing strategy you have, landing page, website, the ad copy, whatever it is, and then you can get to the next level with your business again after you had that advice. And I can ask a few questions, look at what you got, and pretty much usually get it right, because I've done this kind of consulting with and working with clients over the last 10 plus years and hundreds of companies. And I understand where usually the bottleneck exists. And we got to guarantee results for our clients. We can't do that if we don't understand the greater, not just about whether the ad works, because a lot of times the problem is with the website, and you got to be able to know that. And otherwise we're wasting our efforts here. And we can tell you, like, a lot of you guys think the ad is not working and you have to just get a better ad, and really the website's the problem or whatever. So I can help point you in the right direction with simple 30-minute coaching sessions. So I've been starting to do this, and it's been very useful for the people that have been watching the channel. If you want that, you can also reach out to me at guaranteedppc.com. But with that said, I'm going to wrap everything up with that. Thank you very much for watching as usual, and I'll see you in the next one.
Remember when I said Google Ads was important during this video? Well, this video here tells you how to do it.